Good morning, Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. Thanks so much for joining us. The Koreans are taking over Walking Street. The Koreans are taking over the Philippines. You know what? Yeah, it's kind of true, but it's really simple to understand why. I don't understand what the big deal is, but I do understand why you might be a little bit confused or why you want to know why or how. So let's talk about that.
Why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance, no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
Okay, first off, we're going to tell you why. We're going to show you how. We're going to show you the facts and the figures, everything as to why the Koreans are here, how they're spending, what they're spending, why they're changing the landscape of the bar system, all right, within Walking Street. And you can apply those same facts and figures all the way to any location in the Philippines. You can just vary the inputs. It's really simple. Okay, so Ace Bachelor Cool put out a video the other day, which was actually pretty good. It was part 2 of part 1, how to, save your money and, how to get the best bang for your buck. Part 1 kind of dealt with Koreans a little bit and the bar scene, but it applies everywhere in the Philippines, and you'll see it. Now, in order to do that, you have to understand something. You have to understand they're not any richer than you are. They're not, for the most part. Don't get me wrong, there are exceptions to all rules, but you need to pay attention to some of the basics. So let's take a look at Walking Street in Angeles City. And like I said, you can apply this just about to everything. So if you take a look at this, from LA to Manila, it's a 15-hour flight, okay? And it is, let's see here. How about we do this? There we go. It is 7,292 miles. So many of you don't live in LA, so you got to get to LA. The United States is big. So you may have to fly to LA or San Francisco, or there are other locations, obviously. Seoul, Korea. It's a 4-hour flight. Korea is a much smaller country. Getting to the airport in Seoul, piece of cake. And by the way, more than one airport in Korea services the Philippines. Now, it's 2,600 kilometers, but it's 1,600 miles. So what takes you an entire day each direction to get to the Philippines, in Korea, this guy can leave at lunch and be eating dinner that night. Pretty simple. That's the first thing you got to understand. Now, the second thing you need to understand. All right. Now, I went and I looked at flights comparatively to Manila. You could compare this to Clark. You can compare it to any other airport. All right. Nonstop. The best price nonstop for October was $55,828. We're going to get back to that in a minute for you coming out of LA. Best price, nonstop, 4 hours, 15 minutes. Cebu Pacific, 10,000. Wow. Now, let's take something else into account. All right. Again, we're using Walking Street in Angeles as an example because it can be transferred just about to everywhere. Now, if we take a look at this, and let's see if you can follow my little cursor. So for you, the cheapest flight that I found, just briefly, was round trip, $1,015. The cheapest flight, or not the cheapest, but nonstop, but yeah, the cheapest, for the Koreans was $198. So before he even steps foot on the ground here, he has already saved $800. In addition to that, if you believe in time as money, it's a 15-hour flight. To get here for you, it's 4 hours for him. He's saved 10 hours and 45 minutes. I'm telling you right now. But let's see what really applies. Now, I'm going to tell you, you've got to pay attention here. Prices will vary depending on where you go, what you do. But if it is going to compare your trip to his trip, then it doesn't matter because you're both in the same place. So it doesn't matter if you're going to Walking Street or if you're going to Boracay. All right, you're going to pay the same thing for food. You're going to pay, relatively the same all the way across the board. But we talk about Walking Street because that's where a lot of people are complaining about the bars. Well, let me tell you something. We know why people come here. The vast majority of the people that come here are for the bars. That's what the tourist situation does. But let us take a look. If the typical bar fine is 5,500 pesos, and that's because I averaged out Perimeter Road and Walking Street, and that's a rough average, okay? You're going to pay a little bit more here, a little bit less there, so we threw it out. That's $100. A 3-day trip, which is fine. I mean, but let's say it's really 4 days of travel time, 3 days in the bars, playing around. 2 bar fines a day. That's 6 bar fines is 33,000 pesos. Okay? So that's 600 US dollars. But wait, he saved $800 up here. So before he even got here, he's spending less than you are just to get here. Now, let's say he's it's going to be it's going to be 43,918 pesos. 798 US dollars. He has bar fined 2 girls a day for 3 days and still hasn't spent as much money as you have to get here. Now keep in mind, he stays the same hotel you stay at. He pays the same thing you pay. He eats the same food. It's all relative. Now, let's say he's a big baller. All right? Let's throw in 12 drinks a day that he's buying and drinking. 4,200 pesos, 12.6, $76. All right? And then 229. So if we take his flight, $198. If we take his typical bar fine, $600, okay, of 2 per day. That's 2. You can stretch this trip out to 6 days and do 1 a day. All right. If we add in the 229, where did that come from? Let's see here. Can't remember. Oh, the 12 drinks a day. He's at 1,027. So he's spending roughly $12 US more to boom 6 girls, eat, drink. Oh no, that doesn't include food. Okay. But his round trip airfare, his boom expense, his drinking expense, all right? And you can change drinks into tips. You can do whatever you want. My God, that's why. What you spend just to get here, he spends for a vacation. So then let's talk about the economics of it. So, first off, the economics. Now you can go on the World Data website. You can pull it down. I'm not going to bore you with that kind of stuff. Their inflation rate is less than the U.S. All right? Their unemployment is less than the U.S. Now their wages are actually lower than the U.S., but their cost of living is lower. So in comparative things, now they are in for a big awakening. I would urge you, if you really want to try and understand, Google how mortgages are in South Korea. You're going to find out there are actually 3 kinds of mortgages, and they are facing a huge mortgage crisis in one of the largest categories. And I'm not talking about the difference between a 7-year and a 15-year. I mean, these are radically different types of mortgage processes. Okay? The Koreans came here to have fun. Then they developed businesses to support the guys that are coming to have fun. They didn't come here to eat. All right? Angeles is not the foodie capital of the Philippines or the world. The best Korean barbecue you can get in Angeles is about average in South Korea. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, what are we saying here? What we're saying here is that these guys, they don't have to spend even as much, anywhere near as much as you do. They don't spend the time. You've got 2 days of travel time. It's a full day. I don't care that the flight itself is 14 hours, but by the time you get to the airport, check in, go through everything that it takes for an international flight, get here, and then get to wherever you're going, it's a 23-hour trip. For them, 7 hours tops. Okay? The flight itself is only 4. The Koreans support themselves. That's why the Koreans, they cater to themselves. They do everything. They're not getting a better deal than you are. They're paying the same thing you are in the bars for drinks. They're paying the same bar fines most of the time that you are in the bar. All right? And they're happy to do it because they don't spend what you spend just to get here. Just to get here. Is this going to change? Is it going to make a difference? Who cares? I don't know. It really doesn't, it doesn't really impact Arlen and I. But I've never been rudely treated at any Korean bar. We've never had a problem at a Korean bar. I know there have been problems out there, but other people have problems too. Will they continue to grow? Sure they will. Keep in mind, they don't own, they say it's their bar. They own the bar. What they may own is the business. But the physical real estate, that's in a Filipino name 99.99% of the time. Owning the actual physical location, not so easy. They're happy to lease it. They're happy to lease land. They're happy to lease a building. Doesn't matter to them. It really and truly doesn't, because it's common in the Philippines. And quite frankly, it's pretty common in the U.S. A lot of business owners don't own the property their business is on. My point here with all of this is simple. Why worry about it? Why let it bother you? What does it matter? Come have a good time. It doesn't matter. I can tell you, when we were in Boracay recently, I had a conversation with a young Korean couple that were staying at the same resort we were staying at. And I asked them, why Boracay? I mean, Korea has beautiful beaches. It really and truly does. And the guy said, because it's world famous and because it's cheap. He bought 2 round-trip tickets from Seoul, Korea, to Catlacan, which is where you fly into for Boracay. Hotel transfers, but just the flight, round trip, was $250 for him and his girlfriend. 2 tickets. You are not going to get 2 tickets in the U.S. to Boracay for $250. His spending is logarithmically higher than yours because he has more at play than you do. It's that simple. So why bother to sweat it? Why let it concern you? I mean, you can't control it, so why let it bother you? Come, have a good time, explore, look around. Angeles may not be your kind of place. For many people, it's not. It really and truly is not. All right? We're here for specific reasons. It has nothing to do with the bars whatsoever. But that being said, just because somebody else has more spendable income, who cares? Just because, I'm sorry, I have a lot of sinus. I've been sick the past 4 days, had a terrible sinus infection. It's getting much better now, though. But who cares? Does it matter whether the bar is run by Koreans or run by Westerners, as long as you're treated well? You have options. Use your options. Don't complain. It doesn't matter. It really and truly does not matter. Now, with that being said, what do you think? How do you feel about it? Does it matter to you? In the comments below, tell us what you think. We appreciate your time. We hope you have a great day and be safe.